This video is sponsored by Into the AM Apparel.
It's that time again. It's time to unbox something. This one doesn't make a cool ratcheting sound, sorry. What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are going to unbox a classic Metalcore amp that I have never played before. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name's Kyle. And what I do is I take awesome, high gain related guitar gear, record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. If you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that really need to learn proper knife safety, you're in the right place. I'm trying really hard to get to 20,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed to this channel and this seems like something you might be into, please do. Help me get to that 20K mark before the end of the year, and I will be forever grateful. Thanks! Alright guys, so we have been having a lot of fun unboxing a lot of really cool stuff on the channel here lately, and these videos have been a lot of fun checking out new gear for the first time with you guys. So today we are going to check out an amp that for me only lives in legend because I have never gotten to play this amp before, and there was a point in the early 2000s where this was regarded as one of the best amps for metalcore, metal, hardcore on the planet. Not only have I never played this amp, I've never even been in the same room as one, so you guys are gonna get to experience this with me for the very first time. And it'll seem a lot less special if you're not subscribed. Not really, I just made that up, but please subscribe. So without naming the amp, this amp was made famous by a band that kind of blew up in the early 2000s, and the guitarist in that band was known for his tone. Go figure. And because people followed his guitar equipment so closely because they loved his guitar tone, when he used this amp and people found out about it, they kind of lost their minds, and this became a huge piece of high gain guitar equipment for a while. I was reading about it on forums constantly. This was before Facebook groups even existed for this type of stuff. But back in 2010 when I first got into gear, this amp was still kind of on the tip of everybody's tongue. So I was really interested in it back then, but at the time I was broke. And I had a 6505 and that was good enough for me for a long time. So one of these amps popped up on the Chug Life Marketplace Facebook group, and it came up from a reputable seller, and it came up at a good price, so I decided to go ahead and jump on it. So we're gonna keep this part of the video short and sweet, but as I have been doing on these unboxing videos, I want you guys to take a second to go ahead and guess what it is before we actually unveil it. Leave it in a comment down below. And be honest, I'm really curious to see what you guys think it'll be before you actually get a chance to see the amp unboxed. And while you're doing that, all right, so you guys know me and you know I'm not the most fashionable guy in the world, but what I do care about when it comes to my clothes is the comfort and the fit, because I don't need any additional help looking bad. So when Into the AM reached out and asked if they could send me some of their clothes to check out and sponsor a video, and I checked out their selection, and they have all sorts of alien related graphic tee prints, which you guys probably don't know, but I'm really into. I said, let's do it. And honestly guys, after a couple of weeks of wearing them, I can tell you that they are the most comfortable t-shirts I have ever worn. They have a couple different options, and I am wearing the basic tee right now, which I really like because it fits snug in all the right places, but it also leaves you a little room to crush some burritos later on. So the shirts are comfortable, they've got a very high quality material, and the graphics on the graphic tees look insane. And on top of all this, the prices are great. The basic and essential tee starts out at $19.95. The graphic tees start at just $24.95. And Into the AM also offers bundle deals where you can get 3 graphic tees for 60 bucks or 3 basic or essential tees for $49.95. And they have also given me a coupon code for you guys where you can save 10% off store-wide, and that coupon is belligerent. Visit the link below to check out the Into the AM selection and use that coupon code to save yourself some money. Thanks! Okay guys, so it is time to unbox this amplifier. Let's do it. All right, so we've got the foam corners. Get your guesses in now, because it's time. One of the keys to a successful unboxing is making sure that you don't lose anything. All right, so final chance to guess. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Can't you tell it's an amp that I've always dreamed of? All right, let's do this for real. Looks to be in really good shape. Tolex is really clean. All right guys, moment of truth. How many of you guessed Framus Cobra? I'm gonna guess not many, because this amp seems to have kind of almost faded into obscurity over the last 8 to 10 years or so. There was a point where, like I said, these things were the talk of the town. They were super popular, and it was kind of one of those amps that everybody dreamed of. It was up there with the Bogner Uberschalls. It was up there with the Dietzel VH4 as kind of one of those amps that everybody just lusted over, and it really was not that pricey. I believe I remember seeing these around $1,000, $1,200 used at the time, but we're talking 2010, where you could get a PV5150 any day of the week for $500. You could get a Mesa dual rectifier any day of the week for $800. So $1,200 was still a pretty steep price to pay at that point, especially when there were tons of viable options at the $500 or less mark on the used market. So yeah, that is the reason that I never jumped into one of these back in the day. And then it was kind of one of those amps that just faded into obscurity a little bit. I'm not saying that nobody played them or nobody used them in that time, but people just kind of stopped talking about them. I stopped seeing people lust about them in the Facebook groups and the online forums that I was a part of. And just, you know, when people stop talking about an amp, it kind of just tends to fade into the background and people don't really think about it all that much. And when I say people, I mean me. So when the opportunity came up a couple weeks ago to jump on one of these amps at an extremely fair price, I figured, what better time than now with the YouTube channel for me to finally grab one, finally experience it. That way I can give you guys an educated opinion on this thing, and you guys get to experience it with me for the first time together. I always like doing that, checking something out for the first time with you guys and basically having you guys share in the moment. So with that being said, it's time to hook this thing up. It's time to try to dial it in. I've heard that these are a little bit tough to dial in, and we're gonna play some riffs and we're gonna see if I can at least dial in a decent tone, and we're gonna see if this thing lives up to the legend. One thing I do want to mention is that recently, as in right after I bought one of these, I found out that there are a few different revisions, and like many things, it seems like the internet seems to think that the early revisions are the ones to have. There's like a V1, a V2, I believe there's something in between, and then there's the V5. And from what I read, the V5 is the most popular. It was the most mass-produced version of this amplifier, and people also seem to think that it was the worst version of this amplifier. So the serial number on mine is F01458. So if you guys can do me a huge favor, and in the comments, if you guys know the lore, the history on this amp better than I do, if you can tell me what version that I have, that would be awesome. And I would be very, very appreciative, because when we do the full playthrough of this video, I kind of want to have all that information handy. And of course, yes, I can go and look that stuff up myself, but again, I kind of like some of the interactions that I get with you guys on these videos, where you teach me stuff that even on certain amps that I know a lot about, I still learn new things when I post videos about them. So happy to hear if you know a lot about this amp, for you guys to leave your experiences and your knowledge on it in the comments to better help me make a more complete video when we go to do the full playthrough of this bad boy. So in typical belligerent amateur fashion, I am talking way too much. Let's get to the riffs. Oh, I don't know why I keep doing that to myself. These things are heavy. All right, guys, so we have the amp hooked up into, go figure, my Mesa 1999 traditional cab with the stock vintage 30s on it. I have the boost board hooked up right here, but we're gonna start with nothing engaged. I have got my lovely Balaguer Typhon here. Absolutely love this guitar, so great recipe for a first try through an amp, wouldn't you say? I don't care, because I say. All right, so real quick before we get started on this amp, one thing that was told to me, I posted a picture of this thing a couple of weeks ago when I actually bought it, and people told me that the EQ on this thing is really quite tricky. I believe that they said that it was a Bandol EQ stack. I don't even know what that means, to be 100% honest. I'm gonna guess that it's just not gonna be normal. So one of the tips that they gave me was to have the effects mix all the way at 0, and was to also have the master cranked up to 3 o'clock and use the channel volume to taste. I'm gonna start like that, and if it sucks, then I'm gonna call that person out. I think that's fair, right? No, but for real, we are going to flip this amp on. I believe everything else is at noon, and we're just gonna try to dial in a tone. Here we go. This is the crunch channel with the gain at noon. Not enough gain for me. Let's go ahead and push that up to 3 o'clock. right, so it's starting to get saturated. Let's go ahead and push that gain up even further. We're gonna go ahead and max it out because why not? Belligerent amateur. Okay, the amp is really tight on its own. Let's go ahead and roll that bass back. Let's get a little bit more mid and maybe a little bit more treble. All right, there is a presence control. Let's go ahead and bump some presence up. That's where a lot of that fizz is coming from, in that presence control. Let's actually bump that back and let's get a little bit more treble. There we go, the amp's kind of opening up now. All right, so it's still a little timid in the higher frequencies. There's a notch switch. What's that do? Gives us kind of like an instant Metallica type thing going on. All right, so notch my thing. I like the voicing, it just needs a little something more. Let's try reversing those volumes. Let's mess with the volumes a little bit. Let's go down to say like 3 o'clock on the master and let's pump the channel volume up. All right, so yeah, much less fizz. Let's go ahead and bump that presence back up. The low end on this thing is so punchy. That's really cool. What happens when we scoop the mids on this baby? That is really ugly. Let's go ahead and bump them up. Bumping them up makes it kind of boxy too, so let's kind of keep it right around noon. Let's add a little bit more treble, I guess. It seems just a little blanketed overall. Let's see if an overdrive will help that, because generally overdrives definitely brighten things up quite a bit. We have the Boss SD1 on. There we go. That adds some mids too in the right place. All right, so somebody told me to keep all the EQ controls below noon. That is like a completely different voicing all in itself, and it doesn't sound bad. So that was just the crunch. Let's check out the lead channel. Make sure we don't blow ourselves out of the water here. All right, so this already sounds a little bit more aggressive in the mids, maybe a little bit more open overall too. Let's get some more presence. Let's try that treble on this channel. Overall, I like the amp, guys, but it just seems to be a little goofy in the mids. It's a little bit boxy to me. It's very tight though, really tight. Let's try the Mud Killer. You guys know that I love the Mud Killer, and the Mud Killer adds some really interesting mids. They said to keep the effects mix all the way down. It seems the loudest in the middle. What happens when we put it there? Well, the amp is louder for one. That seems to kind of open the mids up a little bit though. Let's hit the notch switch on this channel. That's what that reminds me of. I don't know how to play the riff properly though. Let's try a guitar with a little bit more of a mid-forward pickup because yes, pickups do matter very much. All right guys, LTD EC1000T. This has the Duncan Alnico 2 Pro pickup. I have touched nothing on the amp. All right, so now it's a little bit too bright up top. The low end is just so like deep and ridiculous sounding on this. Not bad. Let's try one down tune riff. I've got a lot to learn with this amp as far as shaping the EQ. All right, here we go. Last riff, drop C. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me on the initial impressions of the Framus Cobra. I feel like I've got a lot to learn. One thing that I did not mention earlier is that I know that this amp shipped with a matching cab that was front loaded with G12M greenbacks, the M25 greenbacks. Those are pretty much the classic greenback that most people are familiar with. And this has 8 ohm vintage 30s. I believe that cab was 16 ohm. So there's probably quite a bit of difference in the speakers, and that's probably why I'm struggling with getting that top end and the upper mid content evened out. But yeah, we'll see what we can do to make this thing sound its best. If you guys have tips for me, some secret tips and tricks that I don't know on this amplifier, please leave them down in the description. I'd be really curious to see how you guys can help me out, because you guys always do tell me stuff that I don't necessarily know about these amps, and I think that's really cool. I learn a lot from your comments, so look forward to hearing from you. Make sure to leave it down below in the comments, and I'll meet you down there to chat about it. Thank you for being here. If you liked the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button on the way out. And again, if you're not subscribed, trying to get to 20K, I've got like 2 weeks left, so probably not gonna get there, but I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe if you're not already. And I'd love to have you along for the ride. And if you like what I do here, you wanna support this channel, down in the description of this video are my affiliate links, which go a long way in helping this channel move forward. The fine people at Sweetwater and Zounds do a lot for this channel, and if you shop with those companies, you can hit those affiliate links down below. It costs you nothing extra, and when you buy something, I get a little kickback on the channel, so I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to check out that Into the AM sale down below. Use my custom coupon code and check that link. These really are super comfortable t-shirts. Thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring this video and hopefully some future videos, and that's all I got for today. Kyle here again. We'll see you guys next time.
You know what this wall is missing?
Another amp. There we go.